Our sponsor for today's podcast is Lynn Junk Removal. They are a locally owned business in Northwest Ohio with competitive prices and friendly service. They currently serve Northwest Ohio and Northeast Indiana. Some services they do are demolition, moving, and junk removal. You can call or text at 419-230-8418 for an estimate or any questions. We'd like to thank Lynn Junk Removal for being a sponsor.
Hello and welcome back to the Flagrant Foul Fridays podcast. With me today is, of course, my co-host, Nick,
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back.
and my name is Christian. If you're wondering why Nick sounds a little weird today, it's because he just moved into a new house. So his house is very empty and echoey. He lives in a cave. Today we're going to be covering our typical sports news, and then our special is our personal favorite players of all time. And this includes all sports. All right, so let's jump right into college football. Navy beat Army 17 to 16. Um, this is their back-to-back 10-win season for the first time in Navy's history. And it also is the largest comeback in the Army-Navy game in the last 20 seasons. They were down 16 to 7 until 2:59 left in the third quarter, which isn't really that much of a comeback. So that's a little crazy. But typically these games are close, so it's kind of hard to be down, I suppose. Um, so we want to talk about the uniforms for the game. So the Army wore these white uniforms with a silver helmet, and the Navy wore some dark blue uniforms with a sort of brownish leather-looking helmet with like a hand-painted like old sailing ship on the side. Uh, I don't know about you, Nick, but I liked last year's uniforms better.
I think I might have liked Army's uniforms better last year because they had like the eggshell, like the Oregon eggshell type thing. But I like these Navy uniforms and the helmets. They obviously took a lot of time and effort on the helmet. Took 4 hours for each helmet, and I did some research. There's 192 players on the roster, so that's approximately 768 hours or 32 days.
But that's assuming that one person painted every
Yeah,
helmet.
that's assuming one person painted it.
I don't think one person painted it all.
I didn't do the math for if 20 people were doing it. That was based off of one person.
Yeah. Either way, 4 hours per helmet's a lot of dedication. And I think it paid off. It looks pretty cool. I'm not usually a fan of like trying to make helmets look like the old leather helmets, although I think this might be going for more of like a wooden bronze look. But I think it came out nicely. All right. The next set of news, it's reported that USC might be forced to leave their stadium for the 2028 season because of the Olympics. So they're likely going to play at SoFi Stadium instead. Kind of an interesting thing there. You don't really see college teams get forced out of their stadiums much.
I think it's just because of the amount of history that is at USC Stadium. And that's why they want to have the Olympics there.
Well, it also has a track, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has a track around it too.
Yeah, so I mean, they save money by not having to build it. Actually, I'm looking at pictures and I don't see a track. But they might play soccer there or rugby.
Yeah, they'll probably do soccer and football. I don't know.
Oh yeah, is flag football is in the Olympics now, isn't it?
hmm
I don't know if that's a full 100-yard game though.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything on the specifications for that.
Yeah. We'll have to keep an eye out for that when we get more information. All right, following up on last week's groundbreaking news, Sharon Moore uh, was arrested. We mentioned that. Um, there's a lot of rumors and misinformation going around, so we're not going to comment on any of those things. What we will comment on is what the official police statements have said. So he was accused of unlawfully entering the dwelling of a victim with whom he had been dating. Michigan has not disclosed details of the alleged relationship, but they said an investigation found credible evidence against Moore, who is married with three young daughters. Athletic Director Ward Manuel said the behavior was a clear violation of university policy. And I believe there has been pictures surfaced that show um, that female gained like 100% pay raise or 50%, something really big within like a year or two. I think that's part of the evidence that the university found. They say they plan to investigate their athletic department as a whole because of how many scandals have happened recently and how they've been handled in recent years. So yeah, we're definitely um, keep an eye out for that. Any updates on that? Either way, it's kind of a sad situation from the sound of it. It sounds like Sharon was not in a very good mental state. Not that necessarily excuses his actions, but the whole situation is just kind of sad.
Yeah, I think it'll be hard for Michigan to find another coach after all the stuff that's happened recently.
Yeah, and I don't know, it could be a bit enticing for someone that wants to do a full rebuild, but I definitely think we're going to see a lot of transfers. Speaking of transfers, we have a lot of people planning to enter the transfer portal, which is to be expected with the current state of college football. Uh, so we're just going to quickly go through these. So I'm going to start with Florida. So in Florida, we got quarterback DJ Lagway, running back Kenan Daniels, tight end Amir Jackson, defensive back Jordan Castell, safety Josiah Davis, wide receiver Aiden Mizell, and defensive back Teddy Foster,
For Nebraska, we got quarterback Dylan Raiola.
who you may know as the Patrick Mahomes impersonator. So we'll see where he goes.
And this was kind of expected by people because his uncle got fired from Nebraska last week.
What position did he hold?
He was an offensive guy, I believe.
And then Michigan State, we got quarterback Aiden Childs and defensive back Justin Denson Jr.
For Cincinnati, we got quarterback Brendan Sorsby, safety Christian Harrison, and defensive back Jaquan Sanks.
And for Georgia, we have tight end Pierce Spurlin.
For Texas, we got defensive back or athlete Santana Wilson and defensive back Derek Williams Jr.
For Yale, we got a wide receiver Nico Brown, who is actually a kind of a standout for them, so he could go somewhere big. And we got offensive tackle Mikey Bennett. For Arkansas, we got offensive lineman Jaquan McRoy and true freshman linebacker Tavion Wallace.
For Florida State, we got true freshman offensive lineman Mario Nash. For running back, Jalen Lucas. Defensive back, Edwin Joseph Jr. Cornerback, Kai Bates. And defensive back, Jabril Rawls. For Clemson, we got defensive lineman Peter Woods, safety Khalil Barnes, edge TJ Parker, linebacker Jamal Anderson.
For Minnesota, we got redshirt freshman running back Fame Ijiboy.
Edge boy. Edge boy. Fame Edge boy.
Okay.
For Troy, we got running back Tay Meadows.
For UCF, we got defensive lineman John Walker.
Wisconsin, we got linebacker Tackett Curtis, wide receiver Tretch Kekahuna, and cornerback Jameer Latimer.
For Miami of Ohio, we have standout wide receiver Cam Perry.
For Miami of Florida, we have wide receiver Nathaniel Joseph and wide receiver Nye Carr.
For LSU, we got running back Juwan Johnson, and running back Caleb Jackson, as well as true freshman offensive lineman Carius Kern.
For Hawaii, we have standout wide receiver Jackson Harris.
For Missouri, we have true freshman running back Marquise Davis.
Penn State, we have defensive back Elliott Washington.
And for Bowling Green, we have standout linebacker Gideon ESPN Lampron. Is that his nickname?
That's his middle name.
His middle name is ESPN?
Yeah, you've never heard of this guy?
No. Is it just actually ESPN and not like an acronym?
Yeah, it's just ESPN.
Okay. Did he get sponsored?
I don't know, but he got a lot of coverage last year. People were talking about him a lot because of his middle name. For Kansas, we have safety Lyric Rawls.
For UConn, we have running back Cam Edwards.
For Tennessee, we have star wide receiver Chris Brazel II and quarterback Jake Merklinger.
For USC, we have true freshman running back Harry Dalton and defensive lineman Devin Tompkins.
For Utah State, star wide receiver Braden Pagan.
San Jose State, standout wide receiver Danny Scudero Jr., as well as wide receiver Kyrie Scholes.
For Mercer, their standout freshman quarterback Braden Atkins.
Auburn, we got wide receiver Malcolm Simmons.
TCU, edge Paul Awale.
Appalachian State safety DJ Burks.
Michigan's backup quarterback Jaden Davis.
North Carolina's edge Tyler Thompson.
Kansas State cornerback Donovan McIntosh.
And lastly, Colorado wide receiver Omarion Miller. I'm sure there's many more, but that's the main ones that we saw. Okay, now we're going to move on to players that are either declaring for the draft or were rumored to be declaring for the draft that are staying. First of all, it is official that Arch Manning has announced he will return to this school for the 2026 season. There was rumors that he would go to the draft. USC safety Kamari Ramsey declares for the draft. Arizona State wide receiver Jordan Tyson declares. Penn State offensive lineman Ola Vaviga Ione declares for the draft. And Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love has declared for the draft.
All right. Up next, we got some coaching updates. Earlier last or later on last week, after we recorded, Chip Kelly interviewed for the open Georgia Tech offensive coordinator job. Kentucky is set to hire Texas A&M defensive coordinator Jay Bateman as its next defensive coordinator. Coastal Carolina is set to hire Missouri State's Ryan Beard as its next head coach. Freddie Kitchens will not return as North Carolina's offensive coordinator next season. Utah head coach Kyle Whittingham is retiring. Washington State is set to hire Missouri offensive coordinator Kirby Moore as its next head coach. Kalen DeBoer claimed that he is committed to Alabama and will not leave his team this offseason. And breaking news as of today, Wednesday, Ohio fires head coach Brian Smith over serious professional misconduct, which they say is confidential.
Yeah, they haven't made any statements on this, but um, the coach's lawyer is claiming that he did nothing and this came as a shock to them. Obviously, that could be false, and he's just trying to defend his client, but um, we'll have to see if we hear any updates on this in the future. He actually had a decent season. I think he had about 8 wins or so, and
Yeah, they went 8-4.
and from what I heard, they were pretty like he was a pretty like dedicated coach to the team.
Yeah, their defensive coordinator, John Hauser, is going to be their interim coach for the upcoming bowl game.
Now we're going to talk about some awards during this college football season, but before that, we want to point out that Ohio State had three Heisman finalists in the top 10, that being Caleb Downs, Jeremiah Smith, and Julian Sayin. I believe this has happened before, right? But not for Ohio State.
I don't know for sure, but I believe they have the most this season by any team in the top 10.
All right. Now we're gonna go on to the offensive awards this season. So the Home Depot award goes to Kurt Signetti, uh, named National Coach of the Year. He became the first coach to win the award in consecutive seasons, and he's the second coach ever to win multiple times. Probably well deserving, I'd say. He's really turned the team around, and
He's really turned down for what?
he's improved upon last season. And even if he bums out of the playoffs now, I'd say it's still a win of a season. Although he wouldn't see it that way, I'm sure.
All right, for our Heisman, we got Fernando Mendoza. He's the first player in Indiana program history to win. Diego Pavia finished second in the voting, Jeremiah Love third, and Julian Sayin fourth. And fun fact, 7 of the last 10 Heisman winners were transfers.
There's been a photo circulating online of interviewees talking to the Heisman finalists, and maybe this was like out of context and they already talked to Julian, but Julian Sane had only one interview guy talking to him. And then he finishes fourth in voting. It really makes you wonder if there's some sort of bias against him. Um, Either way, though, he's a freshman, and I think it's gonna make him play better.
I also saw there's some videos circulating, or posts even circulating about Diego Pavia trashing Indiana and the voters.
I will say, every interview I've seen of Fernando Mendoza lately, he seems like a very nice guy. So I can't really hate on him for winning. All right. The Davy O'Brien Award went to Fernando Mendoza. He's the first Indiana player to be named the nation's best quarterback.
The Walter Camp Award also went to Fernando Mendoza. He joins Anthony Thompson, which happened in 1989. He was also a Heisman runner up that season, as the only Hoosiers to win the award. The Walter Camp Award has been around since 1991 and is voted by all NCAA head coaches and athletic directors, often highlighting impact on team success alongside individual performance. It's a Player of the Year award.
Does it tend to also be the Heisman?
No, this is a separate
But I,
kind
but I
of
mean,
award.
does it tend to line up with who gets voted as Heisman?
Uh, Technically, no, because Anthony Thompson, he was the runner up for Heisman, but he still won this award.
Right, but I just
Because you could still have a defensive player win the Heisman.
right, but I just mean in general.
Typically, I would assume they're a Heisman finalist if they win this award.
All right, the Maxwell Award goes to Fernando Mendoza, as well, and he joins Anthony Thompson, in 1989 as the only Hoosier to win the award. The Maxwell Award has been around since 1937, and it's voted by sports writers, coaches, and members of the Maxwell Football Club. They focus on overall excellence. It's a Player of the Year award.
The Doak Walker Award was given to Jeremiah Love, and he is the first Notre Dame player to be named the best running back in college football. On the topic of Jeremiah Love, he had 11 straight games with a rushing touchdown, and he also wins the Disney Spirit Award, which is the most inspirational.
Arguably the most important award.
Yes, very inspirational.
The Fred Biletnikoff Award goes to Makai Lemon, named the nation's top receiver. He joins Marquise Lee in 2012 as the only USC players to win.
I did see a lot of people were upset about that. They thought Jeremiah Smith should have won.
Yeah.
The Remington Award goes to Logan Jones. He's named the best center in college football. He becomes the third Iowa player to win.
The John Mackey Award goes to Eli Stowers and is the first Vanderbilt player to win Tight End of the Year.
He's also the first Vanderbilt player to win the William V. Campbell Trophy, which is the academic Heisman. The Bullsworth Trophy was given to North Texas quarterback Drew McIntyre as the top former walk on.
And the Outland Trophy was given to Spencer Fano, who won the Best Interior Lineman Award, making him the first Utah player to win this award.
The Lou Groza Award was given to Tate Sandell. He becomes the first Oklahoma player to win the nation's Best Place Kicker award.
And now we're going to move on to defensive awards. The Czech Beneric Award went to Jacob Rodriguez. He was named the College Football Defensive Player of the Year, and he's the first Texas Tech player to win this award. He also wins the Bronco Nagurski Trophy, which is a different Defensive Player of the Year award.
The Dick Butkus Award also goes to Jacob Rodriguez for the best linebacker of the year in college football. He's the first Texas Tech player to win this award as well.
The Paycom Jim Thorpe Award goes to Caleb Downs. He becomes the third Ohio State player to be named a top defensive back in college football, and this ties for the most of any school.
The Wuerfel Trophy goes to Texas defensive back Michael Taff, which is a community service award.
The Ray Guy Award goes to Brett Thorson, and this is Georgia's second player to win the best punter. The first was Drew Butler in 2009.
Now we're going to move on to the offensive All American team. This is the first team. Up first, we got quarterback Fernando Mendoza,
Running back Jeremiah Love,
running back Ahmed Hardy,
offensive tackle Francis Magoya,
offensive tackle Spencer Fano,
offensive guard Emmanuel Pregnon,
offensive guard Bo Stevens,
center Logan Jones,
tight end Eli Stowers,
wide receiver Makai Lemon,
wide receiver Jeremiah Smith,
wide receiver Skylar Bell,
all purpose player Casey Conception,
and kicker Kansai Matsuzawa. Now we're going to move on to the defensive first team All-Americans. We got David Bailey, edge,
another edge rusher Cassius Howell,
defensive tackle Caden McDonald,
defensive tackle Landon Robinson,
linebacker Jacob Rodriguez,
linebacker Arvell Reese,
linebacker CJ Allen,
cornerback Leonard Moore,
cornerback Mansour Delane,
safety Caleb Down,
safety Bishop Fitzgerald,
defensive back Jakari Foster.
and punter Cole Maynard.
Now we're going to move on to the offensive second team All Americans, starting with quarterback Diego Pavia, running back Emmett Johnson, running back Kawan Lacey, offensive tackle Caden Proctor, offensive tackle Carter Smith, offensive guard Ole Vega Iona, or however you say his name from Penn State, offensive guard Arbaj Reed Adams, center Jake Slaughter, tight end Kenyon Sadiq, wide receiver Carnell Tate, wide receiver Malachi Tony, wide receiver, oh, by the way, Malachi Tony, the only freshman to make the All American list. Wide receiver Danny Securdo, and all purpose player Wayne Knight, and finally kicker Tate Sandell.
And then defensive second team, we have edge Ruben Bain Jr., edge John Henry Daly, defensive tackle AJ Holmes, defensive tackle Peter Woods, linebacker Sonny Styles, linebacker Anthony Hill Jr., linebacker Red Murdoch, cornerback D'Angelo Pons, cornerback Chris Johnson, safety Dylan Thieneman, safety Luis Moore, defensive back Hezekiah Massis, and lastly punter Brett Thorson.
Moving on to the offensive third team All American, quarterback Julian Sayin, running back Cam Cook, running back Katron Allen, offensive tackle Keegan Trost, offensive tackle Brian Parker II, offensive guard Kalen Rutledge, offensive guard Evan Tengus Dow, center Iapani Lalulu, tight end Michael Trigg, wide receiver Eric McAllister, and wide receiver Chris Brazel II. Wide receiver Jordan Tyson, all purpose Jadarian Price, and kicker Aiden Burr.
You know, I noticed Brett Thorson, the punter for the second team, won the best punter award, but he didn't get first team punter.
Yeah, I wonder why they did that.
Maybe they thought that the other had more uh, support towards his team. Maybe they punted a lot more often, even if the other punter kicked better. I don't know. And then lastly, the defensive third team. We have edge Caden Curry, edge Nadame Tucker, defensive tackle Tyreek Tucker, defensive tackle Lee Hunter, linebacker Aiden Fisher, linebacker Caden Fordman, linebacker Owen Long, cornerback Avion Terrell, cornerback Tredan Stukes, safety Michael Taff, safety Emmanuel McNeil Warren, defensive back Bray Hubbard, and punter Ryan Eckley.
And then we got some first time for some teams in this All American list. So the punter Cole Maynard, he gave Western Kentucky its first ever first team pick. Defensive lineman Landon Robinson is Navy's first since 1975. And kicker Kensei Matsuwawa. What? And kicker Kensei Matsuwawa is the first
No,
since 1986 for Hawaii.
Kansai Matsuzawa.
Okay. Uh, and kicker Kansai Matsuwawa is the
Zawa.
first.
There's a
Mats,
Z.
Matsuzawa. Okay. And kicker. Wait, how'd you say the first
I
name?
think it's Kansai.
And kicker Kansai Matsuzawa is the first since 1986 for Hawaii.
All right, now we're gonna move on to the NFL. So first of all, we're gonna talk about some milestone updates. Myles Garrett is now one sack away from tying the single season sack record after getting 1.5 sacks against the Bears. Jackson Smith and Jigba currently has 1,541 yards with 3 games left. He needs to average 141 yards a game to get the 423 yards left to tie the record. So it's seemingly less likely that he's going to break that award now than at the start of the season when he was on record-breaking pace. But anything could happen. Jason Myers breaks own Seahawks franchise record for most field goals made in a game. He recorded 6 field goals against the Colts, which kind of talks about how bad our offense was that game.
A 44-year-old was the only one that scored a touchdown in that game.
Well, and the receiver.
Yeah, the receiver.
Trey McBride breaks tie with Travis Kelce for the longest streak of consecutive games with at least 5 receptions by a tight end in NFL history. He also became the first tight end to ever catch 100 passes in back-to-back seasons.
Derrick Henry became the fourth player ever to tally at least 3,000 rushing yards in their first 2 seasons with a new team, joining Ricky Williams with the Dolphins in 2002 to 2003, Priest Holmes in 2001 to 2002 with the Chiefs, and Hall of Famer Jerome Bettis in 1996 and 1997 with the Steelers.
Josh Allen records his 86th career win, tying with Tom Brady and Russell Wilson for the second most by a quarterback in their first 8 seasons in NFL history. Patrick Mahomes at 89 is the only player ahead of him. Josh Allen has scored 35 touchdowns in the season for the sixth time in his career, breaking a tie with Peyton Manning for fourth, and he also now ties Drew Brees for third all time. Only Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are ahead with 7 seasons.
Really speaks for how good Josh Allen is of a quarterback.
Yeah, he's one of the most clutch quarterbacks, I'd say. Like he's quite good at um getting comebacks going. He also is going to be a dad soon. His wife, Haley Seinfeld, announced their pregnancy.
Congratulations.
Ernest Jones records fourth consecutive 100 tackle season, and Jaguars head coach Liam Cohn is already the sixth all-time in Jaguars history for head coaches wins. He is tied for fifth most all-time for a first full season head coach. And then Patriots Trevion Henderson scored a 65 and 52-yard rushing touchdown in one game. Trevion Henderson has the most 50-yard rushing touchdowns in Patriots history as a rookie. So that's kind of a crazy stat. He ties Saquon Barkley at four for the most 50-plus rushing touchdowns by a rookie since 2000. It's good to see him rolling.
Yeah, I think he's going to be one of the top running backs in the next couple years.
I know statistically he's one of the better Ohio State running backs, but I always kind of viewed him as not that good compared to like Ezekiel Elliott or even J.K. Dobbins in some regards. But it's looking like he might have a promising NFL career.
I think last year he was kind of being held back from the double running back uh, kind of system that Ohio State had. So now we're really seeing how he does in his own little system at New England.
Yeah. And then lastly, Ravens Kyle Van Noy picked Joe Burrow at Ravens 5-yard line, and he handed it to Alohi Gilman for an 84-yard touchdown. I did not see that play, but it sounds cool.
I believe Kyle Van Noy knew he couldn't outrun the defenders, and he handed the ball to Alohi Gilman to run it the rest of the way.
He should get an assist.
Moving on to injuries in the NFL, Steelers TJ Watt underwent surgery uh, Thursday to repair a partially collapsed lung suffered Wednesday. He could potentially return on time to play the Lions.
And 49ers placed wide receiver Brandon Ayuk on reserve, and he left the squad list, making him ineligible to return this season, and it's raising questions about where he might end up next season.
Colts Daniel Jones underwent surgery last Tuesday in New York that is expected to sideline him for 6 to 8 months and is expected to return for summer training camps. Bears Roma Dunze is still out with a foot injury, and Luther Burden III obtained an ankle injury, and they may not play against the Packers rematch. Chiefs Patrick Mahomes knee buckles against the Chargers and had to be helped off the field to the locker room. We later found out that he tore his ACL and LCL. The Packers, Micah Parsons, he also went down with a non contact left knee injury and he tore his ACL. Devontae Adams on the Rams had a hamstring injury and is in doubt to play against the Seahawks on Thursday night.
All right, now moving on to some other news in the NFL. The Bills had a comeback win down 21 to 0 to defeat the Patriots 35 to 31. I saw part of that game because me and Nick were bowling and it was on. And it was a very unexpected comeback. But again, with Josh Allen, perhaps comebacks aren't that unexpected after all.
I want to note that that was also in New England, so that was impressive that they were able to come back down 21 to 0, not in their home stadium.
Yeah.
Jets fired their defensive coordinator Steve Wilkes after allowing 48 points to the Jaguars.
And then the Seahawks play the Rams this Thursday, and the Seahawks announced they are wearing rivalry jerseys. This is the first ever Thursday night football game to feature both teams with 11 plus win. And when did Thursday night football games start? Do you know?
2006, November 23rd, 2006.
So that's actually pretty I would have expected that to be a stat by now.
This just in, the Rams team flight that was supposed to be leaving any minute now, which is Wednesday today, by the way, um, is expected to be significantly delayed due to an equipment issue with the plane. The team currently is working on alternative travel arrangements to prevent any further delays getting to Seattle. So we may not have a Thursday night game.
Well, it's not that far away. They could drive probably.
Yeah, they could probably get some tour buses or something.
Um, Speaking of the Seahawks, Philip Rivers made his debut after coming back from retirement against the Seahawks, and he lost that game, not by a lot. I think it was the 3-point game, right?
They lost 18-16 off of a field goal by Jason Myers.
Yeah. Uh, but here's his stats. He had 27 passing attempts, 18 completions, 128 passing yards, or sorry, 120 passing yards, one touchdown and one interception. With how good the Seahawks defense is and how like late he came into the practice and everything, honestly, not too bad. And to be fair, they were winning the game right until the end.
Yeah, the Seahawks had a really bad game.
Yeah. It was also announced that Philip Rivers will start again on Monday night versus the 49ers. And one fun fact about his coming back to the NFL, he unretired right before his NFL benefits expired. So NFL players get 5 years of insurance at no cost after they retire, and it would have expired January 9th, but now he gets 5 years past whenever he retires again. Does he care about this? Maybe, maybe not. Probably
Probably he
has.
has 10 kids.
Well, he also has a good amount of money. Um, I'm sure. But yeah, that's just a little fun fact either way.
The Dolphins are benching Tua Tagovailoa, and they're starting Quinn Ewers. He'll get his first start in the NFL Sunday versus the Bengals. And the Dolphins also released Matthew Judon.
You would think the Dolphins would have benched him a long time ago, but I guess now's the time.
Yeah, I think Tua's maybe trying to ride the pine until he can get his years in for the NFL retirement benefits.
I think Quinn will be decent. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a bit of a slow start though. Now we're gonna move on to some teams that have clinched and or been eliminated from playoffs. The Chiefs' loss to the Chargers eliminates them from the playoffs. This is the first time they've been eliminated since 2014, and this will be the first postseason since 1998 without Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, or Patrick Mahomes. The Bengals' loss to the Ravens eliminates them from playoffs for the third consecutive season. Do you think the injuries to Joe Burrow is the main reason they've been doing so bad lately?
I think it partially has to do with, Joe being injured. And then obviously the Bengals have had the worst defense over the past 2 seasons, a horrible offensive line. So really, there's a lot that plays into the Bengals not making the playoffs. The Cowboys lost to the Vikings, eliminates them from contending for the NFC East wildcard spot.
And the Rams became the first team this season to clinch the playoffs with a win over the Lions.
Later on Sunday, the Broncos became the second team this season to clinch the playoffs with the win over the Packers.
All right, now let's move on to the playoff pictures. For the AFC, we have the Broncos at a 100% chance of making the playoffs. Patriots at greater than 99%. Jaguars 96, Steelers 62, Chargers 92, Bills greater than 99, Texans 94, and Colts 19. Then Ravens 39.
In the NFC playoff picture, first seed is the Rams at 11-3 with a 100% chance. The Bears are the second seed at 10-4 with a 71%. Three is the Eagles at 9-5 with a greater than 99% chance. Four is the Buccaneers at 7-7 with a 77% chance. Number five is the Seahawks at 11-3 with a greater than 99% chance. Six is 49ers 10-4, 98% chance. Seven is the Packers 9-4-1 with an 87% chance. Lions number eight 8-6, 44%. Nine is the Panthers 7-7 at 23%, and the Cowboys at 10 with a record of 6-7-1 with a less than 1% chance of making the playoffs.
Good to see the Cowboys doing cowboy things. One thing to note though, this is not counting the teams that are not in the playoffs.
Yeah, this is only the teams that are eligible to be in the playoffs.
So the Cowboys are still better than the Jets.
The Jets are also in the AFC.
Yeah, but they're still better.
Okay.
I think the Jets are the worst team right now, aren't they?
It's between the Jets and the Titans.
Oh yeah, and the Giants.
Moving on to the AFC playoff scenarios. So, how the Bills can clinch a playoff berth. They need to win and Houston lost versus Las Vegas, or they need to win and Indiana needs to lose to San Francisco. How the Broncos can clinch the AFC West. They need to win and the Chargers need to lose to Dallas. How the Broncos can clinch the first seed and home field advantage in the AFC. They need to win and the Chargers need to lose, and New England needs to lose to Baltimore, and Buffalo needs to lose to Cleveland. How the Jaguars can clinch a playoff berth. They need to win and Houston needs to lose to Las Vegas, or they need to win and Indianapolis needs to lose to San Francisco. The Chargers can clinch the playoffs with a win and Houston loss versus Las Vegas, or a win and Indianapolis loses to San Francisco. The Patriots can clinch a playoff with a win or Houston loss versus Las Vegas, or Indianapolis loss versus San Francisco. Moving on to the NFC playoff scenarios, the Bears can clinch the playoffs with a win and a Detroit loss. The Packers can clinch the playoffs with a win and a Detroit loss. The Eagles can clinch the NFC East with a win or a Dallas loss versus the Chargers. The 49ers can clinch a playoff berth with a win or a Detroit loss. And the Seahawks can get into the playoffs with a win or a Detroit loss. And this is all based off this week. So obviously I didn't mention the Steelers because they don't have an opportunity to clinch this week.
Yeah. All right, now we're going to move on to the NBA. We don't have a lot to talk about this week for them, but that's okay. The Thunder tied the 2015 Warriors for the best start in NBA history with 24-1. However, I want to note that the Warriors did it by winning 24 straight. So who's the best, you know? Who's really the best? It's looking like the Thunder. Now we're going to talk about the NBA Cup tournament. It is officially concluded. So, the Thunder eliminated the Suns, and then the Spurs eliminated the Lakers, and the Magic eliminated the Heat, and the Knicks eliminated the Raptors. Then that was that moved all of those teams to the Final Four, where the Knicks beat the Magic and the Spurs beat the Thunder, which was kind of an upset. Um, so good for Wimby and the Spurs. Then the final between the Knicks and the Spurs, the Knicks won. Uh, Jalen Brunson won the NBA Cup MVP. However, the Knicks have decided they are not going to hang up a banner for their NBA Cup championship. This is the first team to do this because the Lakers and the Bucks both put up banners. However, they did announce that they are going to celebrate at home at their next game on Friday.
Definitely think this is a bold move from the Knicks, not hanging up the banner. I don't know if they're trying to hit at, oh, well, this banner doesn't really mean that much. We're focused on the finals at the end of the season. So I wonder if they'll hang a banner later. if they don't win the finals or if they will never hang a banner and just move on and be like, oh, that was a meaningless win.
I mean, I think it'd be kind of weird to double back and then hang up the banner later. So I don't anticipate they're going to hang it up. But when you consider how Knicks fans act, it's not really that surprising to me that they don't really care about this and they only want an actual championship. I don't necessarily see anything wrong with it, but I wonder if in the future, if the NBA Cup will be a lot more meaningful and if it will kind of be like a missed opportunity, you know? And then we have a couple injury updates. Austin Reeves has a mild calf strain and he's expected to miss at least 1 week. And the Atlanta Hawks, Kristaps Porzingis, is out with an illness. He will likely miss the next 2 weeks and then he will undergo further evaluation. Steph Curry scored 48 points against the Trailblazers and he scored 12 threes. I think this is his fourth or fifth time scoring 12 plus threes in a game. And I think that makes him the NBA leader in that category, although I think Klay Thompson might be close, if not tied. Um, However, one thing to note, the Warriors still lost this game, and the Blazers are now 3-0 against the Warriors for the first time since 2002. Steve Kerr went on to say he needs to do his job better, which sounds like something a lot of Warriors fans have been saying for years.
I don't really know much about the Blazers' history, but the Warriors did have some bad teams back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. So it's kind of surprising that the last time the Blazers went 3-0 against the Warriors was back in 2002.
I mean, it's not uncommon to go 2-1 though,
Yeah, that's true.
so it doesn't necessarily mean they were the bad team.
Because I was also thinking about when they had Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, but the Warriors also had the super team with Curry,
Oh
Thompson,
yeah,
and
and I believe Curry is undefeated against Dame in the playoffs. Not in terms of like game to game, but in the overall series. So,
moving on to some more NBA news. Cooper Flag becomes the youngest player in NBA history to score 40 points in a game.
it seems like we're mentioning something he does every week now.
He's definitely a headline player for a rookie.
Yeah, I definitely think he might actually live up to the hype. And weirdly, I felt like he had less hype than a lot of people lately. Like Wimby had more hype, I would say. Although that's somewhat understandable. But like statistically, Cooper Flag is one of the best college players of all time. And he did a lot in his early days of high school too, as like a freshman and stuff. So yeah, it'll be fun to watch his journey. I think honestly he got more buzz about being the number one pick because the Mavs got it than him being the number one pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then lastly, Adam Silver has announced that there will be a decision on the NBA's expansion in 2026. In the last couple years, there's been talks about Seattle, Las Vegas, and Mexico City joining the NBA. I think out of those, Seattle and Las Vegas are the most likely. However, I saw today that based on some surveys and revenue estimate data, Cincinnati is actually a likely place as well. Really, being a Warriors fan made me not want to like the Cavs, even though I am from Ohio. So having a team in Cincinnati might actually be fun for me.
Given that the NBA wants to add these teams, you would think they would want to add Cincinnati or another East team to balance out the conferences. Because Seattle, Las Vegas, Mexico City, those are all Western based teams.
Yeah, that leads me to believe If they add 4 teams, it's going to probably be Seattle, Las Vegas, Cincinnati, and then somewhere else in the East. Where do you think would be a good place in the East?
Mm, I mean, I could see.
I'm pulling up an NBA map right now, and there's not a lot of stuff in like Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Kentucky, West Virginia. I could see them doing Kansas City or Nashville maybe.
Well, they already have Memphis, but yeah, I could see Nashville. I mean, there's a lot of money there.
Yeah. I think Kansas City would make sense too, given the
I
cheap.
also I also heard if they were to add an extra West team, they would potentially move the Grizzlies to the East.
Yeah, that would make sense. So they might not even have to add as many teams as what we thought. They also obviously could do somewhere in Canada. But yeah, I've been hearing stuff about this for a long time. So I'm really eager to see what they do. And honestly, I just want them to bring back the Supersonics. As like a Seahawks fan, I know that that city really wants a basketball team again. All right, now we're going to move on to our random and funny segment. So we've been talking about Nebraska's women volleyball for the past couple weeks and how they've been going on an undefeated run. However, they have lost to Texas A&M 3-2. It was a unexpected upset, but it happened nonetheless. I don't know if they just played bad or what, but that now means that the Final Four is between Pittsburgh and Texas A&M, and M, and then Kentucky and Wisconsin. And then I want to follow up on something I said last week. I forgot to mention this when I was talking about sumo wrestling, but when it comes to injuries in sumo wrestling, there's kind of a bad sort of system with injuries. Because of the historical and cultural significance, many people expect sumo wrestlers to fight through injuries. And then also because of the way they can get demoted because they're out, there's kind of an incentive to keep fighting. And so this is something that's been talked about in recent years, especially from people from outside Japan that have been getting into sumo. They kind of don't like how bad this system is. Like when you look at like the NFL and NBA, it's not uncommon for players to leave and then come back once they're healthy. So I think that's just kind of the expected norm. And however, people from Japan, not everyone, but some people um are very adamant about keeping the old traditions this way. In fact, I saw some people commenting on a YouTube video from Japan that were very angry that anyone was even mentioning changing this, which seems crazy. But I guess I kind of understand it. But yeah, so it's not uncommon for them to fight with an ACL tear, a knee injury, broken noses, all sorts of things. Do you have any thoughts about that, Nick?
I don't know why this is kind of allowed or agreed upon that they are allowed to fight with injuries because obviously that could ruin their life or their career, worsen the injury.
Yeah. Um, I do think this might slightly change in the coming years because after COVID, they made a special rule where if you're out with COVID, you actually don't lose. Well, I think you can still get demoted, but they're gonna like be way less harsh on you. So you may only go down like one spot. So that leads me to believe that they might be looking into making exceptions. So I wonder if they're going to have maybe a medical staff determine if an injury is severe enough to qualify for that. All right. Why don't you talk about the next thing since you know a bit more about it?
Well, as some of you may know, We wanted to include this because John Cena is a very well known person, whether it's in Hollywood, WWE, really anywhere. We wanted to talk a little bit about his last match because there are some fans that were very disappointed in the outcome and what the scriptwriters decided to go with. So John Cena ended up tapping out in his final WWE match against Gunther. It was a pretty long, drawn out match, which I enjoyed because it's the last time we'll ever get to see Cena wrestle. Um, but I kind of wish it ended differently. I mean, it ruins his never give up little character, the way his character was, never give up. It kind of went against that. But I saw a bunch of people saying that it kind of shows that it's okay to give up sometimes when it's impossible or so hard that you probably aren't going to get through it. Um, I mean, it's sad, but I'm sure Cena agreed upon the outcome.
Yeah, I think he probably chose to do this. The more I watch the clip, he seems like he's happy in that moment. Maybe he's just taking in the fact that he's retiring, but I almost feel like he chose to tap out, not that he like had to necessarily, you know? But it is kind of a weird message to say like there is times when you should give up. It's like that at flat face value is I don't actually think that good of a message. I think it would be better to say like maybe get some help. You know what I
Get some
mean?
help.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, if you're really struggling, give up. Like what? You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Um, I know a lot of people were saying they were hoping that maybe Cena could have tapped out, but not traditionally tapping out, like he passed out and they called the match. Which I wouldn't have been mad at that outcome either, but I'm sure Cena did that for a reason, wanted to show Gunther as the next and upcoming wrestler. Everybody's talking about how athletic he is, how he's the next big thing. He's
a
the
lot of
future
people
of
hate him now.
WWE. Yeah, a lot of people hate him, but I've also seen a lot of people talk about how he's the future of the WWE now.
I do, the more I think about it, I don't think in that moment he was really doing any sort of message with giving up or not giving up. I think it was more of him saying like he's at the point in his career where he's okay with losing and he's okay with moving on. And like he's kind of showing the fans that you should too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I saw some people saying stuff like this is kind of the turning point where it kind of transitioned Cena from being Super Cena to normal human Cena. Like he's not able to do all this good muscular athletic stuff that he did in his prime, and he's transitioning into a normal regular behind the scenes kind of guy.
Yeah. I will say it's kind of odd to me that everyone's complaining about him tapping out when you can't even see his hand because he's invisible, you know?
Yeah, you can't see him, so why are you complaining?
I mean, was he ever really in the arena? Maybe it was all just made up from the get-go. Okay.
Maybe Cena never existed.
Maybe Cena was the friends we made along the way.
This got really weird really fast.
Okay, anyways. One thing we wanted to note was that five division champion Terrence Crawford retired from boxing with a perfect 42-0 record. Um, that's really hard to do in boxing. Um, and like we mentioned, he's a five division champion, so he's won in different weight classes. I believe he has something like 18 championships or something like that. I think he also has a gold medal. I don't know much about him, but Yeah, that's impressive, and I'm sure he'll be considered one of the GOATs in a few years, probably. And then lastly, Fenway Sports Group has agreed in principle to sell the Pittsburgh Penguins to the Chicago-based Hoffman family. The deal is pending NHL ap- Board of Governor approval. Sportico valued the Penguins at $1.7 billion in October. I think the Penguins haven't been good in recent years, right?
They haven't really. I don't think they've really been close to the Stanley Cup since they won it back in 2016.
So this could actually be a big deal for them, I think, but it's hard to say how much of a change this is really going to make, if it's more like behind the scenes or if we're actually going to see trades and things happen. All right, now we're going to move on to our personal favorite players of all time. So we're going to start with football. For me, I wrote down Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman, and Marshawn Lynch. Uh, so I guess I want to talk about those a bit. Cam Chancellor is the first player that introduced me to the idea of a hard-hitting safety. I know that players like Ray Lewis, which I know is a linebacker, existed, but I wasn't really exposed to him at that time. So Cam Chancellor was a big kind of culture shock for me. Um, and he was really fun to watch, especially his highlights. Richard Sherman, he's your classic case of a trash talker who puts his money where his mouth is. He's one of the best cornerbacks of all time, although you could argue his prime was pretty short-lived. Um, but yeah, I mean, as someone that played cornerback when I used to play football, and I was a Seahawks fan, Richard Sherman, of course, is going to make this list for me. And then, kind of like I mentioned, I think in the very first episode, Marshawn Lynch is what got me into the Seahawks and really the NFL in general. He's a funny guy. Even now, he goes on all these random side quests, and it's really funny. Uh, but he also was just a beast. I mean, it's literally his nickname, Beast Mode. Um, yeah, like his highlights were some of my favorite things to watch as a kid. And playing backyard football, I always tried to uh, replicate his sort of never give up mentality. And it got me a couple touchdowns when otherwise it wouldn't have. Uh, and then I have Doug Baldwin, kind of an underrated wide receiver, honestly, but one of the better Seahawks wide receivers all time. I always liked playing him in Madden too. And then DK Metcalf. I know that his career was kind of short on the Seahawks, and he hasn't necessarily accomplished a ton, though he has set a couple records while he was on the Seahawks, I believe. I just put him down because ever since I saw the guy at the draft combine with his shirt off and Pete Carroll's shirt off, I was like, this guy is something different. He's what, like 6'4", and he's ripped, and he's insanely fast. I mean, what more do you want? So yeah, he's just a fun, interesting character. Next, I got someone that I don't think anyone would expect. I got Tyrod Taylor. And the reasoning for this is because I always loved scrambling with quarterbacks in Madden. And for a long time, I think Tyrod was one of the fastest quarterbacks you could get. And while he wasn't amazing, I always loved playing him. And so that's why I have him on this list because I was thinking of players and he came to my mind. So obviously he stands out in some regard. Honestly, I think he could have had a much better career than he did if he had a bit better teams when he was in his prime. What do you think?
Uh, Potentially. I don't think he was an elite quarterback per se, but he was definitely a decent starter.
He's kind of like Lamar Jackson in a lot of ways, though. So I definitely think there was a lot of potential there. Then we got Jameis Winston. Uh, I don't really like his play, I'll be honest. He's kind of inconsistent. He throws a lot of picks, but he also throws a lot of deep balls that get caught for like game-winning touchdowns. So, I mean, say what you want. He gets the job done like 50% of the time. But the reason I put him down is because his outside the game interviews are the best. I really hope he goes into sports commentary, and I think he is pursuing that a bit. So, yeah, fun guy. Next, I got J.K. Dobbins, although he's been injured in the NFL. Um, when I watched him at Ohio State, he's by far my favorite running back we've had, which was, it was tough for me to let Zeke go, but JK quickly became my favorite. But I think it helped that Gus Johnson always said what was it, JK all day, every time he got a touchdown. So that was fun. And then we got CJ Stroud. I mean, he's just so smart. He's really good, really accurate. It's sad that um, our defensive coordinator kind of sold not letting him get a national championship. But I really wish him the best in the NFL, and I think he will do well. Justin Fields is probably up there too, but kind of in a different reason because he's just, you know, kind of that DK Metcalf big guy build, and it's always fun to watch quarterbacks truck people. And then lastly, I got pretty much every Ohio State receiver in the last 5+ years. Maybe not so much some of the bench guys, but uh, Garrett Wilson, Olave, Jackson Smith, Jeremiah Smith. I mean, the whole shebang. I love them all.
Moving on to my favorite football players. Starting off, I got Cam Newton. Uh, Growing up in an era where we had Superman Cam, I really, I guess, caught on to the Superman Cam hype, and I was a big fan. The Panthers used to be my second favorite team because of Cam Newton, and I had a
You
Panthers
know,
blanket because of it.
I think everyone caught on to the Panthers hype back then.
Yeah, it's kind of sad to see how far he fell after his MVP season. I would have liked to see a few more good seasons out of him.
Yeah, he was a fun player to watch.
Next up, I got Russell Wilson. He's one of my favorite Seahawks all time. I have a few of his jerseys from when he was on the Seahawks. I haven't worn them since he left the Seahawks, but I was really sad to see him go. Um, Although we have Sam Darnold now, probably playing a little better than Russell Wilson would have because he's really fallen off since Seattle, which is also sad to see. Um, Next up, I got Marshawn Lynch, another player watched play growing up. Beast Quake, Beast Mode. Love to watch him play, run through defenders. Jackson Smith Najigba, one of my current favorite Seahawks players, as you may know because we talk about him so much. An immaculate receiver. Loved watching him at Ohio State. Loved watching him in Seattle. Actually bought his jersey on draft day after he got drafted by Seattle.
Good thing he wasn't a bust.
Yeah, he wasn't one of the worst receivers to go in the draft. And then to round out my list, I just picked a bunch of old Ohio State receivers from when I first started watching Ohio State in football. Devin Smith, Michael Thomas, Jalen Marshall, Paris Campbell, and obviously pretty much any Ohio State player between 2014 until now when I first started watching.
Yeah, me too. I mean, JG Barrett, all of them. We actually have quite a lot of similar players, but I guess that makes sense because we both like the same team.
Yeah.
All right. Now I'm gonna move on to basketball. This may shock you, but I'm a big Steph Curry fan. But in all seriousness, I mean, he really changed the game. He's fun to watch. He's got highlights galore. He's a likable guy. Uh, he's clutch. He's got rings. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, It's gonna be a sad day when he retires. Next, we got one of my favorites and one of the players that is underrated in my opinion, John Wall. A lot of people probably don't even know who John Wall is nowadays. Um, Honestly, his career was a bit sad. He kind of got stuck on a bad team to begin with, but he is just one of the most fun players to watch when he was in his prime. Um, a lot of people talk about Kyrie and his layups and dribble moves, but John Wall, in my opinion, was up there with Kyrie. And I think in some ways he was a bit more explosive because he could dunk a bit more consistently than Kyrie. And of course there was that iconic game where I don't remember how many points he has, but he went off. The I think it was the day of one of his friends died of cancer. It was like this little girl. I think it was like a Make-A-Wish program, right?
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, so that was a very iconic moment and interview. That's kind of what I think that might have been my first instance of learning about him. And then, just playing NBA 2K16 and stuff really made me love him.
I believe the young girl's name was China, or her nickname was China or something.
Wasn't that Isaiah Thomas's sister? No, it wasn't.
Uh, yeah, her name was China.
Oh yeah, it
Two.
was. I don't think two. I think they're two separate people.
They're two separate people, but the one, her nickname was China, and
Oh,
Isaiah
okay.
Thomas's sister's real name was China.
Okay, I did not know that. But yeah, I you've probably seen that interview. They tend to play it sometimes. Yeah, do you have any thoughts about John Wall? I don't know if I've talked to you about him before.
I mean, yeah, we've talked about him quite a bit. Sad that he had to play on the Wizards his whole career. Then he had that injury, which when he finally got on good teams, he wasn't able to perform how he used to.
Yeah, he was gone for like 5 years, wasn't he?
He was gone for quite a while.
Yeah, sad, sad story. Kind of reminds me of
Derrick Rose.
Derrick Rose, but later in his career, I suppose. And then next we got Steven Adams. I mean, he's likable. I think he's extremely underrated. I believe in the playoffs last year, he had like a plus minus of 90 something when he was on the court, and that was with the Warriors hack-a-shacking him. So, yeah, he's probably one of the nicest guys in the NBA, and yet he's big, strong. So you want to expect that from him. Kind of a gentle giant, I guess. And yeah, like I said, just underrated. Fun to play in 2K also. Uh, and then next we got Giannis. Kind of similar reasons. Uh, you know, a gentle giant, but he's a beast, man. He's one of the most fun to watch, and I can only imagine if he had a 3-point game, how dominant he would be. So yeah, that's my list.
For my basketball list, starting off with my favorite, my really my favorite player of all time, like the top of the list, Kobe Bryant. I actually, I know it's weird that I'm saying this, but when he died in 2020, I made a post about how sad it was that he died, and I actually cried myself to sleep that night, believe it or not.
Well, fun fact about me, my Discord profile picture is a painting I drew. It's a frog with a Where's Waldo outfit. But I wrote "Rest in peace, Kobe" on it because that was like around the time that that happened. So yeah, fun fact about me.
So my second favorite player is LeBron James, obviously an Ohio kid watching another Ohio kid grow up, be a good basketball player, be the greatest of all time. I actually like the Cavs. They're my second favorite team while LeBron was there.
He's just a kid from Akron.
Yeah, he's just a kid from Akron. I'm just a kid from Northwest Ohio. That hasn't done anything yet, but I might. You never know.
Oh, you own a house now.
I own a house now, a cave. Another one of my favorite basketball players currently is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. We talked in the previous episode how he's keeping pace with Wilt pretty significantly with less minutes per game and averaging about the same amount of points per minute. So a really good basketball player. I think he's going to be a great inspiration for this generation. Kind of how Curry and LeBron and Kobe was for our generation. Another
Yeah, him
one.
and Wimby, I'd say.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Another one of my favorite players is Anthony Edwards. Um, I've kind of really liked him since he started on the Timberwolves, watching him grow, watching him continue to dominate the position. I was really hoping they'd make a deep playoff run last year. Unfortunately, they didn't. Um, Another one of my favorite players, Carl Anthony Towns. I playing really the only reason I became a fan of him is because back in NBA 2K16 he was a rookie and I was a rookie if I played my career mode. And somehow I just became a fan of him. I don't even know how. I just liked his name, I guess, and his nickname Cat.
You know, yeah, I don't know why I like Cat either, but he's just a fun guy, I guess.
He's just a
And
likable
really,
guy.
he was one of the first stretch bigs, so he really helped change the game.
I think that's one of the reasons I did like him was because he was a newer guy to the scene. He was able to make the three ball.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of coverage of him early in his career. You remember how 2K had that like interview TV thing?
Yeah, 2K TV.
Yeah, I think he was in a lot of those episodes early on.
Yeah, I think I really started liking him a little more when he had that game where his mom passed away during COVID, and he just kind of broke down in his post game interview. Another one of my favorite players, although I will say I didn't like him at one point. He was one of my most. He was one of the players I disliked the most at one point. Um, I thought he was overhyped. I thought he wasn't that good. But since he came to the Lakers, I've grown to like him a little more because he's helping us win games.
That'll do it.
Yeah, so shout out to Luka Doncic, even though I haven't always liked him. And
I do
lastly,
think he's maybe deserving of an MVP of anyone and hasn't gotten it, you know?
yeah, I think he's had a few MVP seasons, but just hasn't been the top vote getter.
It doesn't help that Jokic is one of the candidates every year as well.
Or that Shea Gilgis Alexander is having one of the best scoring seasons since Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah.
Finally, my last player, since I had to include a female, I couldn't think of any other female besides Caitlin Clark. I mean, she's balling out in the WNBA.
She's
Uh,
injured though, I think again. Well, I
I
guess
guess
the
she's in,
season's over, but she's been injured this season a lot.
but definitely an inspirational or feminine figure.
What?
Definitely a very inspirational person for the young ladies out there.
Yep. Yeah, she's fun to watch. I mean, I know she uh gets a lot of hate, somewhat unwarranted in my opinion. But I don't know, she plays like Steph, so of course I'm gonna like her somewhat, you know? All right. Now we're gonna move on to baseball. I used to like baseball a lot more, although after this last World Series, I might get more into it this year because it was a fun World Series to watch, and I kind of just watched it on a whim. But so some of my favorites are Joey Votto. You know, I grew up a Cincinnati Reds fan. I've been to a couple games. I've seen him play. I think I've seen him hit a home run too, so that's fun. Shohei Ohtani, of course. I've been following his career for a long time. I used to be an Angels fan, believe it or not, just because of him. That was kind of torturous. And then Yoshinobu Yamamoto has been growing on me lately after watching him play in the World Series and him playing on like back-to-back games and complete games and winning the MVP, World Series MVP. I mean, he's just insane, and his pitches are pretty fun to watch too. So he's definitely someone I'm gonna keep an eye on moving forward. And then lastly, another player I've seen in person, Aroldis Chapman. You know, he has a very kind of simple game. He just throws hard, but man, is it fun to watch, especially in person. I think I saw him throw about 104 maybe in person, and that was really cool. So yeah, that's my list.
My MLB list. I haven't really watched the MLB much over the past few years, but I do have some favorite players from the past and one current player. So starting with my MLB list, obviously Joey Votto, being an Ohioan, watching the Reds, being a Reds fan. Um, Joey Votto's been my favorite MLB player of all time, favorite Red of all time. I got to watch him play in person. I don't remember if he hit a home run, but it was still cool to finally see my favorite MLB player, although he's no longer with the team. Um, my next favorite player, another Cincinnati Red, Ellie De La Cruz. I got to watch him play in Cincinnati as well. Uh, very, very fast. He's very fast. He's very fun to watch.
He's a great
Watching him,
athlete, you know.
watching
He's
him
he's
steal the
an
bases.
he's an all-around package.
Honestly, I hope he grows and hopefully they can take the Reds to the World Series sometime soon because I've only ever known the Reds to be a bad team.
Yeah, it's been a long time since they've made I don't know about made the playoffs, but made it far in the playoffs.
They made the playoffs this season.
Yeah. It's been a long time since they've made it far in the playoffs though.
Another, this is one of my favorite players growing up, both of these guys, because I started playing baseball more. I played t-ball and stuff as a little kid, but I started playing baseball for the school in seventh grade, and I was watching a little bit of baseball since I was getting back into it. And those two players were Mike Trout and Bryce Harper. I actually got myself a pair of Mike Trout cleats when I started playing baseball. So, really, the only reason I ended up liking those guys is because I was getting back into baseball. They were one of the top two players in the MLB at the time.
Yeah, those are great players. All right. And now to our last section, which is just any other sport. I got Jimmy Johnson from NASCAR. I've seen him race in person. I think it was the year before he retired. Um, I kind of joined in on him late because I didn't really follow NASCAR until he was almost retired. But just a nice guy. Um, undeniably one of the greatest of all time. I think he has what, 8 championships? Maybe 7. Um, and yeah. And then next I got Chase Elliott from NASCAR. Fun fact, my old dog was named after him. I didn't name him though. Um, but yeah, just one of the best like newer generation guys, and he's fun, he's likable. His cars always look great. I love, this is gonna sound funny, but honestly, his Hooters cars are really cool. Like, like unironically. I think he's got a Mountain Dew car too. That one's pretty cool. So yeah. Then we got Neymar, my favorite soccer player. Really unfortunate that his career's been plagued with injuries, and a lot of people think he's a bit overrated, but I think just his skill level, especially dribbling and stuff, is just in a league of its own. Um, and then top that off of like he's actually a pretty decent scorer and passer as well. He's certainly one of the most fun to watch. And he played with some of the greats like Messi, so I think he gets a little bit overshadowed. He easily could have been the top star of any team. Then we got Heung-min Son, Tottenham legend. I am so happy that he got a trophy with them before he left. Um, yeah, I'm a Tottenham fan. I don't know if I've mentioned that, but yeah, legend of the game. Breaking down stereotypes and all sorts of things. Probably the best South Korean player of all time. I think he lived in Germany for a while. He took the game very serious. Like his dad was his trainer, I think, and he's not even allowed to marry until he's done with sports, so he can focus on it. So, yeah, very interesting guy, very nice guy, one of the greats. Next, we got Harry Kane. You know, that's Son's partner in crime. Kind of a slow guy, kind of a weird talker. Like he's got a very distinctive British accent, but undeniably one of the greatest scorers of all time. His accuracy is uh really good. And then next we got Noah Lyles from track and field. I know he gets a lot of hate, but he's just a fun, goofy guy, and he's actually good. Like he gets gold medals. So what more do you want? Like, yeah, I love watching him. I love watching his interviews. I love watching his pre-game and post-game dance moves and all that sort of stuff. Next, we got Grant Holloway, undeniably one of the greatest hurdlers of our generation. I believe he holds the record in indoor 100-meter hurdles, 110-meter hurdles. Uh, I did hurdles in high school, so that's why I like him. He was one of the main guys I watched, even though I liked 300 more, and he's more of a short distance hurdles. And then next, the woman I chose for this, although there's others that I like I could have said Caitlin Clark, obviously. We got Katie Ledecky. Probably undeniably at this point the greatest female swimmer of all time. I believe she's the only Olympian to win 6 medals in the same event, like in a row, gold medals. And I think she's got like maybe 16 or 18 medals total. Uh, yeah, I mean, she's basically the Michael Phelps of women's swimming. So she also uses a swimming technique that was thought only possible by men. That's probably why she's so dominant. In fact, in the Olympics, she sometimes wins by like 10 to 20 seconds, which I don't know if you know much about swimming, Nick. That is a huge lead, especially at that level. And then lastly, we got Nathan Chin. No one probably expected this. No one probably knows who he is, but I'm actually a big figure skating fan when it comes for the Winter Olympics. And he's one of the best United States male figure skaters right now. He won a gold medal. My sister thinks he's hot, apparently. And yeah, he's just fun to watch. I don't really know many figure skaters, but for some reason he stuck out when I first watched him, and I've been following him ever since.
Going into yeah, my favorite other athletes of other sports. I'm going to start off with NASCAR as well with Jeff Gordon, the Flaming Fairy. Um, I I played some old NASCAR games when I was younger, and uh, I had surgery at DuPont Hospital, and his sponsor was DuPont. So, what better way than to choose Jeff Gordon as my favorite NASCAR driver?
Kind of random, but that's cool.
Most of the reasons why I like these people are random anyway.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it just takes one little thing, and then you like them for the rest of your life.
Uh, Another weird one. Kyle Busch was NASCAR mainly because of his M&M's car.
Yeah, I've talked about this with other people, but he's probably the first NASCAR driver that I ever knew, although I didn't know his name. I just knew his car, you know, when I was
Yeah, I
little.
would agree with that. I probably first NASCAR driver I knew was because of the car too.
So I really think Eminem's hit the jackpot there. Not necessarily with him, but just sponsoring a car because it stood out, you know?
Uh,
He also
yep,
does
yep.
Skittles.
Oh, does he?
Yep.
I haven't watched NASCAR in a while to know.
I don't know if he does anymore because he's like changed teams and stuff, but did in the past, I believe. And I think he did like a battery company, but that's not as appetizing.
Yeah. Uh, Staying on the same topic with racing, John Force, NHRA drag racer, the one of the most famous drag racers of all time, one of the best drag racers of all time. He's won the most championships all time. I work for the company that sponsors him, so
So
that
you're
kind of let
obligated. You're
I'm
obligated.
kind of obligated to like him. But he's a really nice guy. Like I said in the last episode, I met him in person. He's a really nice guy. His daughter Brittany Ford, she's a pretty good driver, even though she hasn't been driving lately. Um, but yeah, he's a nice guy. Another guy in NHRA that I grew to like was Cruz Pedregon. He's a good racer as well. The main reason I liked him to start was because he has a cool name, Cruz Pedregon. What
Yeah,
a
I think
name!
he's one of the best at driving in a straight line.
Next, I've added an NHL player, adding a little more variety to my list. Um, I added Sidney Crosby. I've been a Pittsburgh Penguins fan for, I want to say, about 10 years now. My cousin really got me into it. He still watches the Penguins all the time. He knows every player. I don't. I don't watch hockey as much anymore, but growing up, being a Penguins fan, Sidney Crosby was that guy. One of the best hockey players all time. Not much more you can say about an outstanding hockey player in Pittsburgh. Uh, Moving on to some bowling. As you guys know, I bowl. We talked about bowling a little bit last week. I
Which
mentioned this guy last week.
we have an update, don't we, for bowling?
We actually bowled on Sunday, which he said earlier.
Yeah, but I want to get into the juicy details here because I think it's important. The first 5 frames, I was beating Nick. I just want that to be known. The ending doesn't matter. It's about the start.
I do want to note, though, I was bowling two handed because I said I would make the transition for fun.
And I was bowling with a 7-pound pink ball, and I didn't improve until I switched to the 10-pound ball. So I
So,
was at a
what was
handicap.
so? What was your final score?
I think it was like 127. My goal was to get 130. Unfortunately, I didn't get a strike or a spare on the last frame, so I couldn't get extra points, which that's kind of my gripe. Is that a word? That's one of my issues with bowling because I think you get rewarded at the end when you could easily have a great game at the start and then get screwed at the end. If it was me, I think it should be like the NBA three-point contest, and you get to pick what frame you put the bonus in. I don't think that's a bad idea. What do you think?
Honestly, I disagree because that's kind of a weird analogy.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but why?
Well, maybe you want to put it on the second frame after you've warmed up.
To help the worst bowler?
I think it's fair either way because you get a pick, and realistically, it's like you're either gonna get a strike or you're not. So it doesn't
Yeah,
really
those are
matter
the
where
only
it
two
happens.
options,
But like, it doesn't really matter where it happens.
but it does
Why does it matter?
because strikes multiply. if you put all your strikes at the beginning or end, you'll get that multiplier.
Yeah, but I mean that kind of goes into if you drop a strike anyways. So whether or not you put it at the start, middle, or end, you have to go into it with other strikes or leading out of it if it's at the beginning. And at the end of the day, I think that's the risk you're going to be willing to take. I also want to say we bowled on probably the worst lane I've ever bowled in.
It was very oily.
It was very oily. The pins were not getting reset correctly. We were like missing pins at times. And once when we got there, there was already a pin in the gutter, and it stayed in the gutter. And then we knocked it out, and then another one came in the gutter. I think 3 times we had a pin in the gutter, which at one point made someone's gutter ball bounce back into the pins, which actually made him beat me by like 2 points. So
And when we first got there was 12 house balls on the rack.
yes, it was a great experience overall.
We had the whole house on our ball return, and we had to put up all the way before we could even bowl.
And we had 2 people bowling next to us, so we had to wait in between shots.
Anyways, I had a 172. I didn't mention that.
Hey, my goal was 130 and I almost hit it, so I was very happy. And I actually think if we would have played more games, I would have definitely beaten it when I switched to the other ball.
So my favorite bowlers are Jason Belmonte, Norm Duke, and Darren Tang. So Jason Belmonte, he was my favorite to start. I've followed him, not really followed him. I mean, I played his bowling game on my phone. He has his own. He has his own bowling game, and I played that in high school a lot. I became a fan of him through watching him bowl, being one of the most versatile, and also having that game that I played all the time. Norm Duke, he's a great older bowler, um, real nice guy. Darren Tang, I watch him on YouTube. He's a really good bowler, really nice guy. Does a bunch of giveaways and does some lessons for newer bowlers. Um, so yeah, moving on to soccer. Lionel Messi, obviously the goat of soccer, other than Cristiano Ronaldo, one of my favorite soccer players of all time. Kylian Mbappe. When I first got back into soccer, I heard about him, and I've been a fan of him ever since. Don't know much about him. I know he played for PSG when I first started following him.
He's at Real Madrid now.
So tells you how much I watch soccer.
That's okay. When the World Cup and the Olympics roll around, I'm gonna force you to pay attention a bit more.
Pay attention and talk about it. Moving on to the last sport, wrestling. WWE. Obviously, John Cena. He's been my favorite wrestler my whole life. Um, Sad to see him retire. Like I said, sad to see him retire the way he did. Um, I actually got to see him in person right before he retired during his heel run. I was super excited to see him wrestle in
You saw
person.
him.
I went to an event that he was supposed to be at, and it was really cool. I was going with another event with friends that they said he was supposed to be at, but then they came out and said he wasn't going to be there. Which so I'm really happy I got to actually watch a WWE match that he was supposed to be at and wrestled in, and through CM Punk pipe bombed him through a table, even though I couldn't see him. Um, yeah, so definitely a really cool experience for my first WWE match, or not WWE match, first WWE event in person. Uh, my current favorite superstar is Penta. Um, I liked him since he entered the scene. I liked him during the. I guess I started liking him during the Royal Rumble. Um, really cool guy. Love the Mexican Destroyer. I really hope he gets a push. I would like to see him win a championship since I'm a fan of him, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately. Another superstar, we actually had to add a woman, and I added this woman before I added Caitlin Clark. Uh, I started liking her too around WrestleMania time, and that's Lyra Valkyria. Um, she's a good wrestler. Um, Sad to see her lose her IC title to Becky Lynch. And
Everybody
Becky
hates
Lynch,
Becky Lynch, bro. Come on now.
and then Becky Lynch gave it up to Maxine Dupree. Um, it'd be cool to see her win another championship again, but she's kind of rolling around with Bailey right now, so she's probably not going to be in the championship scene unless they go for tag team titles. Um, but yeah, so that's my list. Um, I do also want to mention I've liked Stephanie Vaquer since she entered the scene a while back.
I thought you were gonna say Steph Curry.
Stephanie Vaquer, she's she's a pretty good wrestler. I love the Devil's Kiss. Uh, yeah, so that's my
Is
list.
that a move?
Yeah, the Devil's Kiss is her signature move.
Okay. I was like, what? Yeah. I think we had some good lists. I think we maybe introduced some people to some names they never heard of. I hope you go out and research those names if you're interested. And I would love to hear your guys' favorite players of all time in different sports. So if you want to, feel free to leave that in the comments. Yeah, I think that'll do it then. So we will see you guys next week, and I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas. Wait,
That's just the following week.
were we recording? Wait, what day is that? Are we recording
Uh,
on Christmas Eve?
that would be Christmas Eve, yeah. So yeah, you guys have a
You guys have a
Merry
Merry
Christmas,
Christmas.
and
Either
we'll have
way,
a new episode after Christmas. So Merry Christmas to everybody.
and a Happy New Year.
Have a happy
Well,
New
now we're
Year
getting ahead of ourselves.
next week.
All right. See ya.
See ya. Thanks for listening.